Hello and welcome back to the Chronic Health Diaries. My name is Ellie and I make videos all about how to feel your best self regardless of any chronic illness. Today we are talking all things low FODMAP. Yes, I'm sat on my floor, couldn't find a good place for you, so sorry if this isn't the background you were hoping for. Okay, so who's the low FODMAP diet for? For context, I've got Crohn's disease, I've also got IBS on top of that and PCOS. It's such a good time. I'm also dyslexic if you want to chuck some more things in there. But primarily this is aimed for people with IBS or who basically always are struggling with bloating, cramping, nausea, diarrhea, gastrointestinal symptoms. If you're not having much luck with them, you've been to the doctor and things like that, they might suggest trying a low FODMAP diet. And the biggest thing, if you take away anything from this video that I want you to remember, is that low FODMAP diet is not a long-term elimination diet. So low FODMAP is 6 weeks of like hardcore elimination of certain foods, then a period of reintroducing to find out what your flares are. And then the aim of the diet is basically to get you back to eating as wide a variety of foods as possible and just eliminating the few really specific things that make you feel poorly. I've seen some things on social media that scare me, that people are basically doing the elimination phase for eternity. That's not what this is. Do not do that. I eat the best I ever have. I eat a really varied diet. I just now know what foods don't work for me, and this is how I work that out. This video is all going to be about my experience with low FODMAP, how I made it work, things that I found easy, things that I found hard. I've got a recipe for you at the end for my go-to dinner when I was in the elimination phase of the diet, which is the really hard bit. But I want to make it clear, so this video isn't a really comprehensive what is the low FODMAP diet. I'm not a medic. There are loads of medical videos on YouTube that will tell you in detail what the low FODMAP diet is. But this is all about just how I managed it, how I made it work, because if it's something you're considering, give it a go, obviously with the help of a nutritionist and specialised doctor, of course. But I want to help you feel like this isn't scary, so let's get into it. So, what is the low FODMAP diet? So high FODMAP foods are very specific carbohydrates, is my understanding. Not a low carb diet, very different. It's like very specific carbohydrates that are found within certain foods that are common flares for people, and they're grouped into different buckets. They are, I have them written down, so I'm looking down, it's like who would remember this? Fructose, lactose, mannitol, sorbitol, GOS. It's actually really embarrassing because there are medics in my family that are going to watch this and be like, why didn't you just call us and ask how to say that, Ellie? Anyways. And fructans. All foods will either have one of these in, they'll be like completely low FODMAP, they won't contain any of these kind of carbohydrates, or they'll be high in some and low in others. So for example, apples are really high in fructose and sorbitol, but then a grape is only high in fructose. Foods can contain a combination of these carbs or just one of them or like all of them, and they'll contain different levels. So for example, a singular grape might be like low on the low FODMAP scale, so you could eat that, you're not really having enough of the carbohydrate to like flare your body essentially. It could become a high FODMAP food if you had like a whole punnet of grapes. So it's quite hard, it's a scale. So how it works is you eliminate all these types of carbohydrates for 4 to 6 weeks to kind of set your body back to this kind of base level, to try and give your stomach time, I guess, to heal and for you to feel better. And then over the coming weeks, once you've kind of got your base, you've done elimination, you've got none of these specific carbohydrates in your body, one by one you start bringing them in and you see how you react to the foods. Okay, so I'm going to break it down to make it super clear because I'm not sure that was that clear. So elimination phase, this is where we're stripping out all of these specific carbohydrates for 4 to 6 weeks to get our body back to that base level. For me, I know this sounds like the really bad phase because it's the hard phase, right? Like you're eliminating so many foods out your diet. But to me, this was so exciting because it was the first time I'd felt well in so long. So yes, it was a little bit annoying not being able to eat so many different foods for 6 weeks, and you have to be like really on it if you want this to work. You have to be disciplined. but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling well, which meant I knew one of the high FODMAP foods was triggering me. So all that was left was to work out what that high FODMAP food was. And I was like, I can keep feeling like this. That's so exciting. So if you're thinking of going on this diet or you're about to start it, I know the elimination phase seems really scary, but for like, try and see it as exciting. Like, you're about to feel better. How good is that? Okay, so what foods are high FODMAP and therefore you can't have in the elimination diet? So it's things like lentils, asparagus, yogurt, ice cream, mango, apples, basically any sweetened product, most things containing gluten, rye, wheat, barley, shallots, onions, garlic. It's a long list, but I think one thing that really helps me is alternatives. Like, you can have like gluten-free sourdough for bread. That was a really nice swap out. You can have garlic infused oil. That really helped me get some flavour back into my foods. And there are also these great stocks and soups by a place called Bay's Kitchen. They do cooking sauces, condiments, gravies, pestos and dressings, stocks, soups. Like, they do so much stuff. So if you are someone that has a very busy lifestyle but is wanting to do low FODMAP, get some stuff from this place. It's not cheap because obviously it's like super specialist food, but I remember the stocks especially saved me, because I remember being like, how am I going to get flavour into my food, especially when you can't eat garlic and onion. So having good stock for like soups and pasta dishes and things like that made a really big difference, which is where Bay's Kitchen was good. Also, like, sometimes you just want a curry. Like, I'm not the only one that just wants curry sometimes, and they do things like curry sauces. So Bay's Kitchen, absolute lifesaver if you're doing low FODMAP elimination phase. Like, just get a load of that stuff in your cupboard before you even start. It makes it so much more bearable because you can do fakeaways and things like that. Okay, so in the reintroduction phase, you're at your base where you've had 4 to 6 weeks of eliminating all high FODMAP foods. And now you're at the point where you start bringing them in slowly again, but you do it in a really specific way. So I'm going to stick with grapes because it's just an easy one. So grapes are high in fructose. So you've done your elimination phase. Then you're going to do 1 day of having like 2 or 3 grapes. I can't remember the specifics. We'll say 3 grapes. If you don't feel like you're going to shit yourself or vomit, whatever your symptom is, if you feel like you're not feeling awful, then on day 2, you'll have a few more grapes and you'll be like, how do I feel? If you're still feeling good on day 3, you'll have some grapes, and then maybe also another food that's high in fructose, which is what grapes are high in. And then if you feel all Gucci after all that, you're like, great, fructose, tick. That is not the type of carbohydrate that is making me ill. Sadly, this does not mean that you can just carry on eating grapes. Well, not for the moment anyway. After you've done that type of food and you've worked out how you feel, so you've done your fructose reintroduction phase, you then need to go back to your base level again of having no high FODMAP foods in your diet. Foods? I just said foods. Foods in your diet. The reason you do this is because you need to make sure you can establish where your discomfort is coming from, so you can't have different types of high FODMAP foods in your diet at any one time at this point. So once you've had your grapes, you're living life, it's great, you're going to go back to your elimination phase, and then it'll be time to try foods with sorbitol in. And then basically at the end of it, you'll have a list of foods that work and don't work for you. So once you've done this reintroduction phase, you've worked out what's good for you, what's bad for you, you just slowly start living your life again, I guess. And I just found this diet incredible because yes, it's tough to do. I think the whole process lasts like 3 months. So yes, it is tough. You have to be super prepared in that time, but it's really game changing. Okay, so that's a really brief overview and probably terrible overview. I'll leave links that are actually helpful. That's an overview of what low FODMAP is. Now let's talk my experience. The key to success with the elimination phase that I found was being so prepared. So like on Sundays, I would do a lot of bulk cooking. I would probably cook more than I thought I needed, put stuff in the freezer, and it meant if one night I didn't have time to cook or whatever, I knew I had something in the freezer that was low FODMAP friendly, because in this elimination phase, if you start like accidentally bringing foods you shouldn't eat, it really ruins the process because you kind of like essentially like contaminated your body and you don't actually know how you're feeling after it. So I'd say food prep was the thing that got me through it. So I think after like a few weeks of being in the elimination phase, you kind of know what you can and can't eat. If you forget, there's a Monash University app called FODMAP. Basically, you can see all the foods and their kind of colour scale. So red is like high FODMAP, green is low FODMAP, which means you could have it on your elimination diet. So apps like this were really helpful. Another thing that I think can be hard is going out for dinner when you're on this low FODMAP elimination phase. But I went on holiday for a week and managed it. And I'm not going to lie, I mostly had plain chicken and chips the whole time I was out there. But like, is that so bad? I don't think so. You can still go out for dinner. You just need to accept that like you might need to say to the restaurant, look, you can just do me plain chicken and chips. And also most restaurants will do that. Or can you do a really basic sauce with gluten-free pasta? Like there are ways around it. Don't feel that you can't go out for dinner, because for me, I didn't want to have any anxiety around food in this phase. So actually I made a conscious effort to still go out for food, made the process feel more bearable, that I could still go and enjoy food occasion moments. But when it comes to the reintroduction phase, if this is going to be successful, you need to be organised. I think a big thing I'd recommend if you don't want to waste a load of money on food is when you go into the reintroduction phase, you're bringing in different types of carbohydrates at different points and seeing how you feel. Don't go and do a big weekly food shop. For me, shopping day by day in this phase was the most cost effective and least wasteful way to do this, because for example, when I realised I couldn't eat sorbitol, I knew on the first day of having a little bit of sweet potato that it wasn't good for me. So there was no point in like planning my week around being able to eat something that I wasn't going to be able to do, or buying a kilo of sweet potatoes to have half of a singular one and be like, I can't eat this. So now I've just got all this food. So when you're in the reintroduction phase, don't do a big food shop. And then when you're at the phase where you know what food does work for you and doesn't work for you, it sounds really silly, but I still have a list of things that I can and can't eat, because I often forget. I know that sounds silly, but it's really niche things that you can and can't eat. So I just always have a list on my phone. I'm going to make some posters to put in the kitchen so that like when my boyfriend's out doing the food shop, he can also remember what foods to not get. This diet has made me feel so much better. I'm not half as bloated. I don't feel sick as much. I'm not going to say it's cured everything, because I still do have some symptoms and I still do have really bad weeks. And also sometimes I'll eat a high FODMAP food by accident. Sorry, to be clear, a high FODMAP food that doesn't work for me by accident. And you've got to remember, like, you're not allergic to these foods. They just don't make you feel great. Sometimes you're going to slip up and that's okay. It's just kind of remembering where's your base to come back to. That is what the FODMAP diet is and my experience. Now, let's finish the video by showing you one of my go-to dinner meals when I was on the elimination phase of the diet. Welcome to my kitchen, and the bit you're probably most interested in out of this video, this is my go-to recipe for when I was in the low FODMAP stage and still wanted something really tasty to eat for dinner. So the recipe we're making today is a like Chinese style sticky chicken, proper like fake away vibes. So I'm excited to eat this now, and I'm not in the elimination phase of the low FODMAP diet. So there's a few things that you want to get ready at the beginning, and it's just going to make the cooking experience a lot better. So I'm going to talk you through my setup. So first things first, we've obviously got raw chicken. This is the Chinese chicken style. We have then got 1.5 tablespoons of corn flour in one bowl, an egg in another, which I'm going to whisk. And then in our last bowl, we have got gluten-free flour, paprika, salt and pepper. And this is what's going to form our nice batter. And then finally, we have a sauce that's going to stick to that batter once we fry the chicken a little bit. So it's a combination of garlic infused oil, sesame oil, soy sauce, a little bit of coconut sugar, but you can just use regular sugar if you don't have coconut sugar. Oh, and honey. And yeah, that's it. So super easy. We're going to create a simple batter with our chicken by dipping the chicken in the corn flour, then into the whisked egg, and then into our flour mix before frying it in a pan with garlic oil and adding over that nice sauce. So let's get cooking. Okay, so we're gonna get our pan onto like a medium-high heat, and we're gonna drizzle over some more garlic infused oil. I prefer to do this now before I've got the chicken in the batter, just because it makes everything a little bit less messy. Okay, then I'm going to take my bits of chicken in one hand. I'm going to take them and just give them a good mix in the corn flour, then get them over into my egg mix. I was trying to keep my hands separate and I've already got it wrong. Then with the other hand, you want to get these in the egg mix, into our flour, give them a good coat, and then into the pan. There is no non-messy way to do this, you've just got to go for it. Okay, so my chicken is now frying. So you want to just fry the chicken until, well, it's cooked through and it's golden brown, and then genuinely all that's left to do is pour over the sauce we made earlier. Okay, so here is the finished result. Oh my gosh, it looks unreal. I've just garnished it with some sesame seeds and the green parts only of the spring onion, and then you could just serve this whatever you want. I would do egg fried rice or noodles, but I'm sorry, how good does that look? Like, even if you're not on a low FODMAP diet, like, you're gonna want this, surely. It's so crispy. It feels like proper takeout food, but there is no risk that there is something in here you can't eat. Sensational. So that is the end of this week's video all about low FODMAP. If it's been helpful, please let me know and I can make more videos like this. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, because it really helps me get my videos to people that need them, and hopefully will find them helpful too. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next Sunday. Oh, I'm literally just chatting shit. Okay, so that is my experience. I'm going to shit, I haven't whisked my egg.